so stream actually exists now. Finally. Just get right to it. Get to this eventually. We'll talk about this briefly. Try to make like Serious Sunday like be under an hour today because we gotta do big run. Even though this stuff is more important by default. Alright, let me just move this here. And let's get talking. So we're talking about tropical stuff again. Got Atlantic stuff, got West Pacific stuff. We have COVID stuff later. So we'll get to it. Alright, so Gert and Katya are still here. Franklin has moved out into the open Atlantic. Idalia is also gone, as well as Jose. So Gert is now trying to get absorbed into Idalia's circulation. Shouldn't be too much of a problem for anyone else besides shipping interest. Same thing with Katya, although it's barely a tropical storm, as evidenced by the NHC, I think on their official page. And we have two things to watch. We have this 30% area cyclone formation around the Cabo Verde Islands, which are the Cape Verde Islands off the west coast of Africa. And we have Invest 95L, which we're watching as it slowly moves its way, not slowly, as it quickly moves its way westward across the main development region of the tropical Atlantic into somewhere around where the Lesser Antilles would be in about 5 days from now. And then we'll see where it goes from there. So try it here. You can try and pull up a satellite imagery of the entire Atlantic Ocean if I have time. And it should be Atlantic wide. There we go. So let me pause that there. This is what's left of Idalia. Franklin is up here. Franklin's up there. This is Gert. This is Katya. And then this wave down here is what's eventually going to move this way as time goes on. So, things we got to look out for, at least for now. These storms should move out move out to the north into the open Atlantic. They are putting some breaks in the ridge, so we have to see how that evolves and how strong the storm. Well, no, how strong this gets, because it's far enough south because it doesn't strengthen very quickly. It's not gonna feel this. It's not gonna feel this curve as early, so it won't be bending to the north as far east. So we'll do it farther west, which will be worse. Which will be a worst case scenario, as that puts it closer to land. Oh, you're still here, Don? That's good. So we're basically trying to find out where this wave's gonna go. It has 3 to 5 days to develop over the main development region out here. It has time to develop this wave. This wave has time to develop. It just depends like where it goes in that time period. It needs to get its low pressure system, its low pressure at the surface closed off, and from there it needs to find the steering flow. It needs to move within the steering flow to determine where it's going to go. So if it's weaker, or if it's farther south in model runs as it continues moving farther west, the farther south it is, the more likely it's going to be a threat to the islands over here. Just get a better color. No, not a better color, a bigger marker. The islands over here, the northern part of the islands. So this would be the northern Lesser Antilles, because the Windward Islands are down here. And then that's the U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, maybe the Dominican Republic, the eastern side of the nation. When are you going to do Big Run? I'm going to do Big Run when I finish doing the Serious Sunday thing, because I didn't do this last week because I was doing a tournament. So I'm trying to do it now since I don't want to miss this ever again, because this is something I was planning to do like every single Sunday. But my Wi-Fi was bad today, so I have to do it later, unfortunately. So the farther south the storm stays, the more likely it's going to be a threat to land. So we'll use the GFS, we'll pull it out for like a few hours. Doesn't really get its act together until like 3 days out. Yeah, about 3 days out, then it starts getting its act together, starts strengthening as it moves towards the islands. In about 5 days. But it moves north of the islands. It does bring them rainfall on the southern end, but the storm center moves north. And it stays away from the islands. So the closest it gets is to the eastern part of the Lesser Antilles. So I would expect tropical storm force winds there and heavy rain if this were to verify. Although it's a little bit too far out, we have to see where it is. Because if it stays like there and it doesn't make that curve, it's early, then we'll have to see. Because this trough on the west side of the ocean right here is what's picking it up and is what's going to pick it up and steer it to the north as this cold front's coming down off the coastline. So that's on the GFS for the next 7 days. If we check the Euro, it's probably going to look a bit different. Yeah, on the Euro, we already have a stronger storm, and it doesn't move as fast. Like, in 4 days, it's still, like, getting its act together. It is a tropical storm on this model. But it starts getting that strength down pretty quickly as it moves westward. It's pretty fast intensification there. So it gets the strength down pretty high as it's north of the islands. So, under this scenario, I would actually expect this to actually move farther north because it's stronger and it will feel this trough more. And you really hope it makes a recurve. Yeah, that would be the best scenario for it. Well, not for it. The best scenario for it is for this recurve not to happen. But the best scenario for people is for it to recurve. So it moves. So this is too far out, but if we move 7 days out, stop there. It's north of the islands and it's somewhat moving westward. It's still in the influence, so if it moves farther south, you're probably going to get more impacts. You'll still get rip currents in this scenario underneath both models. You'll still get rip currents in these areas, but you wouldn't get the heavy rain and the winds from it under this scenario. Since I'm from Puerto Rico, it would suck for me to make it here. Yeah. I mean, you're in the eastern part of the island, so I would say if it stays farther south, the farther south it stays, the more impacts you're probably going to get. So you're hoping that it has to start turning like northward, like before it gets close to the islands here. That's what you're hoping for, at least. Gotta hope it starts turning north early. CMC will take it out. CMC has it pretty weak now. Does develop it slowly as it moves westward. Gets to around tropical storm around 4 to 5 days. So that's at least a consensus on at least the three on the GFS, Euro, and the Canadian model. That's a good consensus that it does become a storm in around 4 or 5 days. It does move westward, and it does move just north. Well, not just north of the islands. I would say yeah, just north of the islands, but it's still like close enough to bring in impacts because I believe the northern part of the Antilles are like right here. So not right there exactly, but like right here it bends around. So that's pretty close, and you're having like a Category 1 hurricane coming in there. It's going to be an issue if the CMC does verify. Heavy rain, strong winds. Rip currents, as I mentioned. But the actual storm is getting on top of you in that scenario.